والصلاة والسلام على سيد الخلق وأعز المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى جميع أنبياء الله والمرسلين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Ibn Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayka ala al-arwah allati hallat bifinaik. أشهد أن الله يا مولاي قد طيب بك التراب وأعظم بك المصاب وأجزل بك الثواب وأوضح بك الكتاب وجعلك وأمك وأخاك وجدك وأباك والمعصومين من بنيك عبرة لأولي الألباب يا ابن الميامين الأطياب التالين الكتاب. وجهت سلامي إليكم ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني للسلام عليكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, we were talking yesterday about certain characters that were associated with the rise of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and we are examining their attitude and their behavior and what they demonstrated in response to the call of our beloved Imam and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. One figure we need to focus on him, his name is Amr ibn Sa'd. Amr ibn Sa'd was the leader, the commander of the Yazid army who came and surrounded Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam with a group of ruthless killers. Amr ibn Sa'd is an interesting character, and we need to talk about him so we could learn not to make the choice that he made and not to fall into the trap of enslaving himself to his own personal gain and desires. Ala ilm. Yani there is an ayah in Al-Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying to Rasulullah, فَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. Do you realize and do you see the person who have taken his own personal desire as his God, and as a result of such approach and such choice and such decision, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will permit that he will be misled and misguided. وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. Yani he misguided himself and he left as-sirat, the straight path, knowing that he have done wrong. Fully aware that what is he doing is absolutely the wrong choice. Extremely it's not ambiguous for Amr ibn Sa'd to make terrible decisions, and he made these decisions with full knowledge about the consequences of such decisions. Amr ibn Sa'd, earlier, about 2 decades or maybe a decade and a half before the event of Karbala, he was a follower of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He was in the army of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He was among the companions that were associated with Imam Ali alayhi salam. And he also witnessed the battle of Siffin, according to what history is telling us. And Al-A'imma Salamullahi alayhim and Imam Ali alayhi salam was informed about the outcome and the events that happened in Karbala later. He was informed about it much earlier by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Jibreel informed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about the outcome of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his martyrdom. And he also informed him about some characters who were associated with the events. Those who are going to excel, those who are going to be with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, those who will stay with him, those who will give him sincere support and defend him with their lives like they have done. And now they have put a name for them in history and in the future of this ummah until Yawm al-Qiyamah, and they also guaranteed success and prosperity for themselves Yawm al-Qiyamah, where they will be with Imam Hussein alayhi salam in heaven as wide as the universe by multiple exponential times. So we say that in az-ziyarah, اللهم اجعلني وجيها عندك بالحسين عليه السلام واجعل لي قدم صدق عندك بالحسين عليه السلام وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. In the ziyarah, in Ziyarat Ashura, when we do a ziyarah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect us with Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions. The companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the group that surrounded him and defended him and stayed with him, he praised them himself. Imam Hussein gave a speech about them. He tested them, and we are in the process of focusing on the attitude of these people who were with him and who were against him, and who defended him and who forsaked him. And we will look into each group and we will see the results of such attitude that they take, and we will focus and make the comparison of such an attitude that took place back in the historical event that took place there in the desert of Karbala, desert of Iraq, and make a comparison to what's going on in the world today and where do we stand vis-a-vis the events that are taking place in the world today. So if history repeats itself by the lesson that we learned in the past, then we have no excuse but to follow the footsteps of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions. So on the 9th of Muharram, the night before the actual battle, because the battle took place in the morning in the 10th of Muharram, and it didn't last that long because there was the matchup between the two groups and the two armies was not really, it was totally tilted to one side. You're talking about 30,000 soldiers versus 74 or 76. And some stories say 78. So there's no comparison. If you want to compare, there's no comparison. Yet, the battle was significant because it demonstrated the ultimate sincerity and the ultimate loyalty to Allah and His Messenger and Al-A'imma. The night before the event, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam brought his companion all together, and he told them, look, here's the situation. Tomorrow we are going to face our destiny, which is certain death. We're not going to have the chance to win against such a humongous army. But we're not going to change I am not going to change my mind, because it's haram for me to give loyalty and to endorse this ruthless killer. Especially the letter that came to him and was delivered to him by one of the Umar ibn Sa'd's army, the commander of Yazid's army who surrounded him. The letter came from Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. We knew that you are here, and we knew that you are in Karbala, and we are not going to let you go. So I just received a command from Yazid, an order from Yazid. Either you endorse him and you give loyalty to him, or you will be killed. It was a very clear message. And Imam Hussein did not respond. He did not even give any respect or any attention to such a claim with this letter. So we go back to address what did he say to his companion that night. Salamullahi alayhi. As a leader, He set a perfect example, an excellent example for a leader to give the opportunity to his followers to demonstrate their sincerity in their faith, in their strong, formidable resolve. He said to them, you and I know that this man, they want me. They don't want you. What they want, that I will give them the endorsement. They want me to surrender. They want me to surrender my sword and then give them allegiance. So I will release you from all your obligations towards me. I will release you from all your obligations towards me. And it's okay for me as a leader to let you go. And you can go. From now until the morning, under the wings of night and darkness, they're not going to go after you. You could go, and you are totally relieved and released from your responsibility towards me. And then they were all felt shocked and sad, and immediately responded, one after another. We don't have the time to go and to give the speech for each and every one. But they all unanimously agreed that they will not leave him, and they will not forsake him, and they will not turn their back on him in such a moment. And if you examine history, and then you see the words that's been uttered, and you see the messages that's been given, and you see the voices that has been raised, every free man would be impressed. Every free man would be impressed with the words that they have demonstrated and say. What did they say? One of them said, if I, in the next day, if I get killed, and they cut me into pieces, and then God gave me the chance to live again, and they killed me and they cut me into pieces. And they have done this 70 times, over and over again. I will never forsake you, and I will never leave you. And another response was from one of them that said, I'm just telling you the content, I'm just doing the translation of the Arabic text, the general meaning, not word by word. He said to him, and what we are going to do after you. What kind of a life we shall have or face if you are killed and we forsake you, and we don't stand to defend you, and we don't die before you. That's not the world that we want to live in. And this world does not belong to us. And if they burn us or kill us and they take us into pieces with their sword, even if they do that, and we know they're going to do that, we are not going to leave you. This is an incredible notion of faith. And this is an incredible phenomenon of sincerity and deep faith and good companionship. And you cannot find the proper words in order to describe in a gratitude such an attitude. Why? Because these grew as if that they were the best group God ever created them at that time. They were different colors. They were different nationalities. They had different backgrounds. They were the old, and they were the medium age, and they were the young, and they were the women, and they were the young kids, and they were the children. And even you see attitudes with young kids, 11 years, 13 years, 16 years, 18 years. All of them demonstrated the same attitude and the same wonderful position and the same step. We are going to defend you because we know if we do so, we are doing the right thing, and then we are guaranteeing the pleasure of Allah on us, because if we defy you, we are defying Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And if we defy Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, we will defy Allah. And if we defy Allah, we will lose ad-dunya and we will lose al-akhirah, and our name will go into the dark pages of history and humiliation. Incredible political awareness, incredible awareness, incredible clarity. Then Imam Hussein alayhi salam praised them. He praised them in the hadith, ajib. This hadith is amazing. He said, there is no companion in existence like you. ليس هناك على الأرض أصحاب مثل أصحابي. No one like you. No one can demonstrate sincerity and loyalty and fellowship in the same magnitude that you have demonstrated. May Allah bless you. May Allah grant you His pleasure. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open the doors of heaven for you. And that's what happened that night. That's what happened that night. That night, these group of people, they spend the night in a state of salat, and in a state of prayer, and a state of supplication, and a state of dua, and they were talking to Allah, and then pleading their case with Allah, and asking Allah for forgiveness, and asking Allah to give them the strength and the power and the inspiration to stay the course. And they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant mercy on their family and on the followers that will defend Imam Hussein, and they were supporting each other and they were defending each other. Group of people, that level of cooperation and that level of support and that level of faith and sincerity, true faith and sincerity, is unsurpassable by anyone, anywhere in history, except by an Imam Ali alayhi salam, who defended Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, did not turn his back on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. So history is repeating itself for such an attitude. Because in the Battle of Uhud, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi were left alone with only three, some stories say 3 individuals, another story 9 individuals, including women. And the rest, they ran away. Their faith was shaken, and their taqwa dissipated at that moment. And they have lost the connection, and they have had doubt. They even believed that Rasulullah was killed. And some of the prominent companions, as history is telling us, that they were about to send someone as a representative on their behalf to speak to Abu Sufyan and to make a political settlement to accept them and to forgive them. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-'ali al-'azim. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi were calling them loud, Ya ashab bay'at al-Ridwan, Ya ashab bay'at al-Shajara. And Imam Ali alayhi salam remained and stood around him and with him, defending him from one group against another group, against the left that's coming, against the group coming from his left, against another group coming from his right, against another group coming facing him. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi would call him, Ya Ali, ikfini haula, save me from those. Ya Ali, save me from this group. Ya Ali. And an Imam would go right and left, up and down, with such a bravery unsurpassable by anyone or by any soldier, until Jibreel made his famous call, La fata illa Ali, wa la sayfa illa dhu fiqar. Jibreel made that call. There is no youth sincere and loyal to our Rasul like Ali alayhi salam, and there is no sword in the world that defended Rasulullah and brought victory to Islam like the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And these were the group of people that were with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Senior one like Habib ibn Madahir, over 74 years. He didn't say to him, look, I'm getting old, I have nothing to do with this, I'm too tired, I can't even carry a sword. No. When Al-Imam sent someone to invite him to his camp, and he told him the letter, and he told him that this is your day, this is your attitude, this is your time, this is your test. Habib al-Mudahar wanted to test his wife, and he said to her, while he was eating in the tent, and he said to her, I don't think I'm going to get involved in politics. It is Bani Umayyah and Bani Hashim fighting for the mulk, so it has nothing to do with me. And then his wife was shocked, and she was totally appalled and astonished, and she stopped eating, and she said, what are you talking about? He says, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, that showed me a sincere wife that loves Ahlul Bayt, salamullahi alayhim. I'm just testing your resolve and testing your attitude. He took his preparation, he took his sword, he took his shield, and he took whatever he needs for the battle, and he recited as-salam on his wife and said goodbye to her and joined Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The same thing with Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. And Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was not even a Shia. Yani Zuhair ibn al-Qayn at that time, politically, his orientation, his inclination was for Uthman. And Al-Khalifa Uthman, the third Khalifa, was assassinated and was killed by the rebels that came from Egypt and from some of the people who also were against Ahlul Bayt. So Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was also enjoying his peaceful life and his peaceful time, and then Imam sent someone and sent him a letter, and then when he read the letter, he was amazed. He kissed the letter and he put it on his head, and he said to his wife, I am going to divorce you and I want to send you to your parents. But his wife was also loyal, she did not leave, she stayed, and he told her, this is an excellent opportunity. And Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was a Sahabi who witnessed several battles with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, but he was not lucky enough in order to be granted a shahada, and that was his objective, that was his wishful thought. That was what he wanted. He was praying before the battles with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi that he would end his life in a good cause, and it was never granted because Allah had something for him that was preserved until later, and that opportunity presented itself. So what do we learn? We learn that from this attitude that we need to maximize our moments, and we need to take advantage of the opportunities that Allah gives us, and we need to seek the assistance of Allah in order to be successful in facing these tests that Allah tests us. Many times in a small little situation, in individual level, in social relationship, in a family relationship, in a business relationship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test your iman, will test your faith, will test your resolve, whether you want to stick to al-halal or whether you stick to al-haram. It's like a simple example that happened in one of these events, in one of these days in London, where a guy, a Muslim who was living in England, that he would take the same bus every single day, and the bus driver noticed him. That was his neighbor in the same street that he was living, and he noticed and he knew that he was a Muslim. So when he went on the bus to pay for the fees, he gave him back the change, and he gave him extra. The change was little but extra. So the man was sitting on his seat, the Muslim man, and he looked and he found out that he did not give him the proper change. He gave him more. And he himself said, oh, it's a burden on me right now to go and give him back the amount, because it's negligible, it's not valuable, it's just a small few piastres or cents. And he said, okay, no problem. I will keep it and I will give it to somebody who's in need. While he was going down from the bus, he extended his hand and he gave it to him. And the driver said to him, what are you doing? He said, oh, you gave me an extra change. You gave me extra in your change. And the bus driver said to him, I know, I intentionally have done so. I know that I knew you were a Muslim. And I've heard Islam speaks about taking care of the al-amana, that a Muslim is trustworthy. He doesn't take anything that belongs to him. So, I tested you, and I believe that you are a true Muslim. And the man went down out of the bus. He almost fainted. He almost went unconscious. Why? Because he was so scared. He was about to leave the bus without giving back the value, thinking it's not important. What did he say to himself? He put his head on the pole and he said, I almost sold my deen and my Islam and my Iman for 20 cents. So when we have an attitude, when we have an opportunity where we need to demonstrate our sincerity and loyalty to Allah and to Muhammad and to Ali Muhammad, we should ask Allah for us to help us and to be successful and prosperous and victorious, and choose what Allah wants out of us, not what a shaitan wants out of us, or not what our desires, wal'iyadu billah, want out of us. That is the point. So there was another example. There was in this group the servant, the master, the free man, the person who was slave and he was freed. There was the black, the white, the Roman, the Persian, the Arab, the non-Arab. This group of people, it's like as if represented a small prototype of a wonderful human character in such a community that you would see, and each and every one demonstrated amazing faith and amazing sabr, patience, and amazing support for Imam Hussein. Versus Amr ibn Sa'd. Amr ibn Sa'd, as I was speaking to you, not to go out of the subject, Amr ibn Sa'd was a companion of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And they were, through the grapevines, saying that, oh, he's the killer of Imam Hussein. Years earlier. And the man, this is scary. This lesson is scary for me at least. Because the man didn't know what he is facing later. Until one day he had heard these rumors. So he came to Imam al-Hussein and he said to him, Ya Hussein, look at this ridiculous people. They think that I am one day will be your killer. Then Imam Hussein looked at him and he said, that day when you're going to survive after I die, you will not achieve your wishful thought. And then left him. Sure enough, years after years came, and then here's Amr ibn Sa'd. And Yazid and Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, the representative of Yazid in the Al-Kufa, was giving this mission to Amr ibn Sa'd in order to kill Imam Hussein or to bring him and to take his allegiance to Yazid. And Amr ibn Sa'd could not grasp it. In the beginning he said, okay, I know, in his house, with his own son, with his own wife, he said to his own son that night, Wallah, I swear to you, by Allah, I am been given the choice either to go to heaven or to go to hell. But my vision and my passion, I want to be a ruler on a certain area that Yazid promised him. I forgot that name of the place. I forgot the name of the place where he was given the promise that they will appoint him as a political governor. Ray. Now I remember. The area that's called Ray. That's his passion. He wants to be the president on the Ray, the governor on the Ray, which is a vast area. between Iraq and Iran. And I know if I don't go and fight Al-Imam Hussein alayhi salam, I would lose that opportunity and Allah would be pleased with me and Al-Jannah is waiting for me. But I want a right and I want to be a governor on the right. This man, chose his own destiny. Chose to go to hell by himself. That is subject to al-ayah. أفرأيت الذي اتخذ إله هواه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفرأيت من اتخذ إلهه هواه وأضله الله على علم. Do you see that person who is taking his own personal desire as his God, worshipping his own personal desire? In turns, as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will misguide him. And there are so many people in our days like that. There are so many people that they cry for Al-Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam and they kill Al-Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam 1,000 times by their attitudes and by the words that they say and by the false accusation of the believers that they say and by wishing defeat for the truly corrective, spiritual, wonderful, political, religious figures that we follow in the world today. There are many people who cry for Al-Imam Hussein alayhi salam and they act like Ubaydullah ibn Yazid and Amr ibn Sa'd and they act like Yazid in their own homes, with their own families, towards their wives and towards their kids and towards their neighbors. To be with an Imam, it does not suffice that we shed the tears. It is good to shed the tears. The event by itself, it will make your heart, it will break your heart. The event by itself, it will make you cry. The event of Ashura, it will make every free man and woman and child cry. But, you know who also cried? Muawiyah cried. Yazid himself cried when he spoke to Imam Ali ibn Hussein Zain al-Abidin. Let our tears and our emotion motivate us to get closer to Allah and to take the right attitude and to make the right decision and to make the choice that Allah is pleased with. Even if we have to create an inconvenient situation in our dunya. Because at dunya, this life that we live, it is not our final destination. It's just a station that we are in it and we are on the road traveling. And inshallah, after a while, you will go to your final destination where either you will go to Al-Jannah or wal-iyadu billah, I don't want to say where. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Al-Hussein wa ashab Al-Hussein wa Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and yusalli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and cure our sick ones and relieve us all from the distress we are facing in the world today. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bond among all the believers together so they would know and recognize the Yazid of their times and they would recognize the Hussein of their times and they support him. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the power to defeat ourselves, to defeat our shaitan in each and every one of us, and then to keep our soul and our mind and our heart on the straight path. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Al-Fatiha for our loved lost one and for the marhuma, my mother, and all the mu'mineen wal mu'minat wal shuhada wal salihin. قبلها الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.